Well, students, good evening to all of you. So, guys, today we will discuss skills of teaching. We are discussing the paper 6th and 7th. The fourth topic is skills of teaching or teaching skills. Under this topic, we will discuss concept and meaning of teaching skills and different teaching skills like skill of introducing a lesson, stimulus variation, skill of using blackboard, explaining illustration, skill of probing questions, and skill of reinforcement. So I start my lecture with the first PPT, teaching skills. First of all, we have to understand what are the teaching skills. Teaching skills are the specific abilities and techniques a teacher uses to facilitate learning effectively, right? These skills help in delivering content clearly, managing the classroom, engaging students, assessing understanding, and supporting overall student development. So always remember, if the teacher having the teaching skills, if the teacher know the teaching skills, only then you can get the overall students development, right? So basically it overall development of the student, I want to say that overall development of the student depends upon teaching skills of the teacher. Are you getting my point? Right? So you know no student is weak on this planet. Children are born genius, guys. I have told you many times. Okay, teacher must have knowledge of the teaching methodology. Only then you can teach effectively. Even the outcome of the student depends upon the teacher's ability. So teacher should have knowledge of teaching skills. What are the teaching skills? Teaching skills are the specific abilities and techniques a teacher uses to facilitate learning effectively. Okay. Teaching is not just about subject knowledge. Second paragraph, you can see that teaching is not this one. Teaching is not just about specific, about subject knowledge. So, for example, you are a very good in the social science, you are a very good in the English, right? Well, you know every content of the English. This is called the content knowledge. But pedagogical knowledge is a different, right? So that's line it is written. Teaching is not just about subject knowledge. It involves communication, psychology, planning, creativity, and evaluation. Means teacher should have knowledge of these all the things. Along with effective teaching skills ensure that learning becomes meaningful, interactive, and goal-oriented. A teacher with strong teaching skills can make learning interesting, understandable, and meaningful. Got it? So, definition of teaching skills. Teaching skills can be defined as the set of observable teacher behavior that bring about effective learning in student. Right? These behaviors are developed through training, practice, feedback, and experience. And in last, we can say that teaching skills can be defined as a set of interrelated expressing behavior of the teacher, verbal and non-verbal, which can be observable, explainable, accessible, demonstrable, and refinable through perfect practices. Guys, it means whenever you come into the class and you teach to the student, right? Basically, you are interacting with the students. Basically, you are showing your behavior to the student. Okay. So, Malab, you should have knowledge of different teaching skills. You should have thoroughly knowledge of the psychology, thoroughly knowledge of the philosophy, thoroughly knowledge of the teaching learning strategies, different kinds of methods, learning strategies, learning theories, teaching models. These all things you should have. And when you give the lecture to the student, basically you are showing your behavior to the student. Okay, you should have the knowledge, different skills for which topic, which method is a suitable. So this is all about the teaching skills, right? So there are different of teaching skills. So first teaching skills we are going to discuss skill of introducing the lesson, right? It is also called the set induction. Okay, how we introduce the lesson, right? The skill of introducing a lesson, also known as set induction, refers to the technique a teacher uses at the beginning of the class to prepare student mentally and emotionally for learning. It is the first step in the classroom teaching and plays a crucial role in gaining attention and creating interest. So, definition, the skill of introducing lessons can be defined as the process of creating readiness in the student by gaining their attention, arousing interest, and linking prior knowledge with the new learning. You got it? This is the introducing the lesson. Introducing lesson doesn't mean you come into the class and you are going to tell the student, guys, today we will discuss this lesson today. Okay. So what is the skill of introducing the lesson? You have to prepare the student to be learned. You have to arouse interest of the student. You have to check the prior knowledge of the student. You have to gain the attention of the student. In short, we can say that you have to prepare the student, learn mentally and emotionally. Skill of introducing a lesson. Okay. Abhi, how it will happen, what you will use, you should have knowledge of components of the skill of introducing the lesson, right? Means how you can prepare the student for learning, how you can mentally and emotionally prepare the students mentally and emotionally to be learned, how you can gain the attention of the student, how you can arouse interest of the student, how you can link prior knowledge with new learning, which topic you are going to teach. Okay, so how you have to do these all the things. For this you should have knowledge of components of skill of introducing a lesson, right? So what are the components? Use of a previous knowledge. So whenever you have to come into the class to teach to the student, first of all, you have to check the previous knowledge of the student. Okay. Means first of all, guys, you have to be sure that now student have the basic knowledge or not. You are going to teach the difficult topic, but student doesn't have the basic knowledge and you are coming into the class. So what will happen? He will not learn. So you have to use the previous knowledge. Use of previous knowledge is must because it helps to establish an integration between the pre-existing knowledge of the learner and the new knowledge that the teacher wants to impart him. Right? Next component क्या है? Skill of introducing a lesson. Use of appropriate devices. Many devices such as lecturing, narrating, dramatization, audio visual aids, experimentation, storytelling, role playing, etc. are useful for motivating the pupils and to gradually lead them to a new teaching material. Maintenance of continuity. There should be a continuity in teaching. Means you have to teach where you have left. Appropriate, it should be appropriate and effective. So these components of skills of introducing a lesson. So you can prepare the student to be learned. You can gaining attention of the student, arousing interest of the student, and you can link the prior knowledge with the new learning. Then you should start for the introducing a lesson. You should start teaching. Okay. Second is skill of stimulus variation. These all the skills, teacher has to take care, right? Teacher should have the knowledge of these all the skills. Only that particular teacher can teach effectively, right? Skill of stimulus variation. The skill of stimulus variation is the teacher's ability to vary teaching behavior and classroom activities in order to maintain students' attention and interest throughout the lesson. In classroom teaching, if a teacher uses the same tone, posture, and the method continuously, student may lose concentration. Stimulus variation prevents monotony and keeps learner alert and engaged. अब guys क्या होता है? What happens? Means, for example, you are teaching to the student, 40 minutes you have to teach to the students. You are using the same tone, same pitch. Okay. So, what will happen? Students will, lose the concentration. So, you should have knowledge of stimulus variation. How you have to, sometimes you have to say little bit loudly, right? You have to emphasis on that particular topic. Okay, these all things that comes under the skill of stimulus variation. Last paragraph देखिए, stimulus variation is described as deliberate change in stimuli behavior of the teacher. मतलब टीचर ने जानबूझ के अपने बिहेवियर को चेंज करना है. फॉर विच पर्पस? नॉट टू लूजिंग द concentration of the student. Okay, in order to sustain the attention of his learner throughout the lesson or class. Okay, now what are the components of skills of stimulus variation? तो ये देखिए, components of the skill of stimulus variation is number 1, teacher movement. The teacher should move purposefully in the classroom instead of standing in one place. You have seen now many teacher, 40 minute का lecture है, by standing on a one place, है ना, she or he is delivering a lesson, right? तो उससे क्या हो रहा है? Class is losing the concentration, है ना, lecture एक better नहीं हो रहा, effective नहीं हो रहा, right? So teacher should have the knowledge of a skill of stimulus variation. It means teacher has to be move purposefully, because ये जो space है, classroom का सारा space है, you have to use it. Right? Example, ये देखिए teacher movement. Example, moving towards the backbench students while explaining. मतलब if you will not move up to the last bench, so you never know the last bench students, they are getting your topic or not. Got the point ना? Gestures, use of a hand movements, ये सारे के सारे components हैं skill of stimulus variation के. ठीक है? जैसे skill of introducing the lessons के थे, right? Use of a hand movements, facial expressions, body language to support explanation. Change in voice modulation होना चाहिए आपका. Varying tone, pitch, speed, volume while teaching. Speaking in the same tone throughout makes students inattentive. ये आपको पता होना चाहिए. Being teacher, 40 minutes you are teaching to the student with the same tone. क्या होगा? Student will become inattentive. If you want that student should be attentive, okay, so then you have to knowledge of this skill of stimulus variation. Otherwise, what you will say that you start blaming to the student. Okay, but actually you don't have the knowledge of a skill of stimulus variation. Got it? आगे में इसके components ये देखिए. Components of skill of stimulus variation. Number 4, changing in the interaction pattern. Changing the pattern of the classroom interaction. Okay, you should, discuss group discussion. Okay, teacher students interaction. तो क्या होता है? What happens? It encourages active participation and collaboration. Next component of skill of stimulus variations का है focusing. Drawing attention to important points through verbal and non-verbal cues. Okay. Student को, when you are teaching that, you have to draw attention of the student through verbal or non-verbal cues. Use of audio-visual aids, using teaching aids such as a chart, model, picture, video, blackboard. Guys, whenever you are going to teach to the student, you should use the teaching aids also. आपका blackboard है आपके पास पूरा, you should use the blackboard, you should use the chart, models, pictures. Right? It makes your teaching interactive. Right? So hence we can say that the skill of stimulus variation is essential for effective teaching. By varying voice, movement, gesture, interaction, and teaching aids, the teacher maintains student interest and attention. So how you can make the student interest and attention? By this. Got it now? right? Varying voice, movement, gestures, interactions, using a different kind of a teaching aids. Mastery of these skills leads to the dynamic, interactive, and successful classroom teaching. Got it? So first we are done with skill of introducing the lesson. Second is skill of stimulus variation. Third, we discuss skill of using Blackboard. Guys, trust me, कई टीचर को तो बहुत सारे टीचर they don't know how to use the blackboard. Do you know to write on the blackboard? It is also a skill. How you have to write on the blackboard? You will learn under this skill of using blackboard. तो क्या है ये पहले मीनिंग? द स्किल ऑफ यूजिंग ब्लैकबोर्ड रेफर्स टू द टीचर्स एबिलिटी to use the blackboard or whiteboard effectively and systematically during classroom teaching to support learning. The blackboard is one of the most important and commonly used teaching aid. Proper use of the board makes teaching clear, organized and interesting. Right? अब components क्या हैं इसके? Legible handwriting. The teacher's writing should be clear, neat, large enough to be seen from the last bench, easy to read. अब फॉर एग्जाम्पल आपकी हैंड राइटिंग अच्छी नहीं है, राइट? तो यू स्टार्ट ब्लेमिंग टू द स्टूडेंट. अरे स्टूडेंट को लर्न नहीं हो रहा बिकॉज ऑफ you are not good in the handwriting, right? Whenever whatever you have to write on the blackboard, it should be readable up to the last bench, right? Proper spacing and alignment. Whenever you have to write on the blackboard, you have to maintain equal spacing between the words and lines. याद रखना ये सारी की सारी चीजें साइंस है. Okay? If you are a good in handwriting, you know how to write on the blackboard, right? By proper spacing and alignment, right? So you can teach effectively to the students. Third है correct spelling and language. Sometime teacher के अपनी ही उसमें spellings उसके wrong होंगे, right? तो क्या होगा? Student will learn the same thing. Whenever you have to write, avoid the spelling mistakes. Use correct grammar. Write complete and meaningful points. Error on the board may mislead students. Use of a heading and subheadings. And underline or highlight the important terms. So suppose one term is a very much important. You have to give emphasis. You have to underline it. This helps students understand and structure of the lesson. Number fifth component, highlighting key points. Important ideas should be underlined, written in a capital letters, boxed, marked with color chalk. Right? दो पेन रखो, right? एक white और एक red. For example, you have to highlight the things. You can highlight that. This draws students' attention to essential information. Drawing diagrams and figures. Diagrams should be neat and properly labeled. Avoid overcrowding the board. Visual presentation improves understanding. और 7th देखो बहुत ही इंपॉर्टेंट है, फेसिंग द क्लास while writing. Whenever आपने देखा होगा many teachers बोर्ड के सामने खड़े होकर लिखते हैं, right? तो आपको whenever you have to write, okay, so you have to see the student back also, facing the class while writing. Number 7, whenever whatever you are writing on the board, okay, for example, you are writing on the board components of skill of using Blackboard. You have to write components of skilling of using Blackboard. Okay, you have to see the student back while writing and you have to speak also. ये देखो, ये facing the class while writing. Avoid turning your back for too long. कई बार टीचर्स खड़े ही रहते हैं बोर्ड के आगे ही, राइट? मेंटेन partial eye contact. Speak while writing when appropriate. This keeps student attentive. Proper use of a space. ठीक है, ये हो गया सारा हमारा. तो these are the skill of using the blackboard. Hence, we can say that the skill of using Blackboard is a fundamental teaching skills. Clear handwriting, proper organization, correct spelling, and neat diagrams enhance the effectiveness of teaching. A teacher who masters these skills can make lessons more structured, understandable, and engaging. अब आप ये देखो ना, आई हैव मेड अ स्लाइड फॉर यू, द इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट आई हैव अंडरलाइंड। अगर यही मैं एक ही लाइन में एक ही कलर में लिख देता तो आपको समझ ही ना आता। नाउ यू हैव इन योर माइंड कि ललित सर वट एवर इज अंडरलाइंड दिस इज द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट, or in conclusion I have highlighted that, right? All the skills I have made it. First I have put the definition, then components of the skill, and in the last I'm giving the important point, highlighting the important point. Okay, so these all you should have the knowledge of, the teacher should have the knowledge. Okay, skill of explaining. अब ये देखो, whenever you have to explain, how you have to explain to the student. The skill of explaining is the teacher's ability to present knowledge, concepts, or ideas clearly, systematically, and logically so that students can understand and retain them easily. Retain them easily. समझ आ जाए उनको. Right? With the help of a story, आगे आएगा. It is one of the core teaching skills. Because learning is effective only when students clearly grasp what is being taught. Explanation skill is the ability to clarify the meaning of concepts and facts to student using simple language, examples, illustrations, and logical sequencing. So whatever you have to explain to the student, explain with the help of simple language, number one. Next, explain with the help of examples, daily life examples. Okay, ऐसा नहीं है एक definition है, you have learned the definition, you have crammed and come into the class, और वही ratifications cramming you are teaching in front of the student. You have to use the various examples, okay, in order to understand to the students. This is called the skill of explaining. अब इसके components क्या हैं? Clarity of language, right? आपकी there should be clarity in the language. मतलब simple language you have to use. You do not have to use the very difficult words. Okay. Next, logical organization of the ideas. Third, use of an example and illustration. इससे क्या होता है देखो, give relevant examples from daily life. Emphasis on the key points. Use of teaching aids. Use the blackboard, chart, picture, models, or digital slides. Interaction with students. Maintaining student attention. Summarizing the explanation. Hence, the skill of explaining is essential for effective teaching. It combines clarity, logic, example, visual aids, and interactions to make learning meaningful. If you know the skill of explaining, a teacher with strong explanation skills can simplify complex idea, maintain students' interest, and ensure conceptual understanding, right? So guys, if you know this skill of explaining demands you have to explain with the help of a daily life examples. Okay, so only from that way you explain the concept to the students, only then student can retain, वो याद रख सकेगा लॉन्ग टाइम के लिए. ओके, नहीं तो हमने देखा होगा क्लास से निकलते साथ ही बच्चे भूल जाते हैं. बच्चे नहीं भूलते बिकॉज टीचर ने अच्छे से नहीं समझाया. टीचर डजंट नो हाउ टू एक्सप्लेन द थिंग्स. ओके, तो अब देखो हमने स्किल ऑफ ये कोर टीचिंग स्किल्स हैं, राइट? स्किल ऑफ इंट्रोड्यूसिंग द लेसन, नेक्स्ट स्किल ऑफ स्टिमुलस वेरिएशन, स्किल ऑफ blackboard writing, skill of explaining. These are the core teaching skills. Okay, without mastering over these skills you can't teach effectively. That's why it is in your syllabus, right? Skill of illustration. The skill of meaning क्या है इसका? The skill of illustration is the teacher's ability to clarify, explain, or reinforce a concept by using examples, diagrams, stories, models, or real life situation. It helps students understand abstract or difficult ideas by relating them to something concrete or familiar. Okay, so इसके components क्या हैं? Skill of illustration. Use the examples, use of analogies, use of stories or anecdotes, use of a diagrams and charts, illustrate करना है आपको, use of a comparison and contrast, linking to the real life situation, right? The skill of illustration is an essential teaching skill that supports explanation and learning. Using example, analogies, diagrams, stories, real life situation helps student understand abstract concept, keeps them engaged and make learning meaningful. So this is again a important skill of illustration, right? Next है skill of probing questions. The skill of probing question is the teacher's ability to ask follow-up or deeper questions to encourage students to think critically, clarifying their understanding. Okay, it means you have to take follow-up. Lecture you have delivered. Now, within your lecture, you want to check that whether the student having the deep understanding of the topic or not. Right? You have to encourage, you have to stimulate. क्या करना है? Stimulate you so that student can think critically. Agar now in today's, if the critical thinking skill is not developed of the student, why? Because because the teacher doesn't know the skill of a probing question. So what is the skill of a probing question? So this skill is that follow up आप करो, deeper questions करो उनको. For which purpose? To encourage students to think critically, clarifying their understanding, or provide more detailed responses. It goes beyond simple recall questionings and helps in exploring students' reasoning, attitudes, and knowledge more deeply. If the student is not reasoned, if the student's attitude is not good, if he does not think more deeply because of the teacher, because teacher doesn't have the knowledge of skill of probing questions. Probing questions are essential in maintaining classroom interaction, stimulating critical thinking and uncovering misconception. इसके components क्या हैं? Prompting. ठीक है, prompt करो, पूछो उनसे. When there is a no response or incorrect response, the teacher gives clues for leading the people to the correct response. If the student is not giving the correct answer, ऐसा नहीं कहना कि तूने तो गलत बताया, बैठ जा. No, this is wrong. You have to give the clue to the student. You have to give the clue to the student so that he can answer correct response. Okay. Seeking further information. If the initial response of the people is partially correct or incomplete, the people to clarify response by asking additional question. उसको additional questions पूछो आप उसको. For example, you ask a one question and student give the wrong answer and you say you have given a wrong answer. तो उससे मालूम है क्या होता है? उससे उसकी आगे की सोचने की शक्ति है वो कम हो जाती है. अरे start giving the clue, helping the students, right? Refocusing. When people gives the response to the teacher, relates the response with something that already taken. Increase critical awareness. Teacher asked how, why of a correct response for increasing critical awareness in the people. Redirection. Asking the same questions to the another people for increasing pupils participation. देखो ये सारे स्किल्स होते हैं. ठीक है ना? एक से पूछ लिया, he has given a right answer, ask from the other also. Right? Skill of reinforcement, the most important skill of a reinforcement. Reinforcement क्या होती है? The skill of reinforcement is the teacher's ability to encourage and strengthen desirable student responses, behaviors, or learning outcomes through positive feedback. Reinforcement motivates students, boosts their confidence, and promotes active participation in the classroom. Skill of reinforcement क्या होता है कि आप उसके again and again आपको you have to ask. ठीक है, whatever you have taught to the student, right? तो उसके you have to ask the same thing, whatever you have discussed in the class. For which purpose? आपने, you can you can take the better example of the by the one learning theory, theory of conditioning theory. है ना? We are done with the conditioning theory. Conditioning theory was given by the Ivan Pavlov, right? Okay. तो वो क्या होता है, मतलब आपने देखा होगा कि when the food was given to the dog, okay, तो dog started secreting the saliva, है ना? saliva आना स्टार्ट हो जाता है. Okay. And just, you know, before giving the food to the dog, he rings a bell, right? And Ivan Pavlov see that after some days, if he is ringing the bell, not giving the food, but dog is secreting the saliva. ओके. तो तब उसने उसको थ्योरी को नाम दिया था कंडीशनिंग, कि आप उसकी कंडीशनिंग कर सकते हो, है ना? व्हाट वाज द एजुकेशनल implication? In a class, you can say that, student, if you will learn this topic tomorrow, I will give you the reward. I will give you the toffee, pen, chocolate, anything. Okay. तो क्या होगा? Student will learn automatically, है ना? Because he is getting the reward. So next day, student is giving the answer, you are giving the reward. Okay. So after some time, what will happen? You will see that student have started learning the things. Now you can remove the reward. अब वो टॉफी चॉकलेट्स यू कैन रिमूव इट. ओके. तो बच्चे अपने आप दे आर गिविंग द आंसर, दे आर स्टार्टिंग लर्निंग. लेकिन आफ्टर सम डेज you again have to give any of the reward. Okay, this is called the reinforcement. If you will remove the reward permanently, they will again lose the learning the things. They will again losing the learning pattern. So in order to make learning effectively and continuously, you have to give the reward again and again, after 1 week, after 1 month. Okay, this is called the reinforcement. You got the meaning of reinforcement now? Reinforcement, right? Reinforcement skill is the ability of a teacher to provide appropriate verbal and non-verbal tangible responses to students' correct answer or desirable behavior to strengthen learning and encourage participation. कंपोनेंट्स क्या हैं इसके, ये करो, बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है ये. पॉजिटिव वर्बल रीइंफोर्समेंट क्या होता है? स्टूडेंट्स कैन बी मोटिवेटेड थ्रू वर्बल एक्सप्रेशन like good, fine, very good, well done, excellent. You have to use these words. Well, students, you are done with this. नेम लेके बोलो उनका. 30 स्टूडेंट्स है, आपको 30 के नेम पता होने चाहिए बच्चों के, राइट? यस नेहा, यू आर गिविंग ए वेरी गुड आंसर. Yes, Sunil, you are given a very good answer. Fine, very good. This is called the verbal, right? Second, देखो non-verbal reinforcement. Non-verbal क्या होता है? अब verbally you are not speaking. Non-verbally क्या होता है? Teacher uses gestures or some other behavior to reinforce the pupil learning. Smiling, nodding head, friendly look, right? Smile is also a skill, right? Start giving the smiling. ये non-verbal reinforcement है. नेगेटिव वर्बल रीइंफोर्समेंट क्या होता है? वर्ड लाइक रॉन्ग, इनकरेक्ट, फूल, इडियट, ये कहना ही बंद कर दो बच्चों को, राइट? एक्सेट्रा कैन बी कंसीडर्ड एज ए नेगेटिव रीइंफोर्समेंट. ओके, स्टॉप गिविंग दिस लेबलिंग, क्योंकि जो भी बट वेन एवर यू स्पीक उसका इफेक्ट होता है. नेगेटिव नॉन वर्बल रीइंफोर्समेंट, frowning, staring, shaking the hand, etc. are the non-verbal reinforcement. Okay. Denial reinforcement. Some teachers do not use any reinforcement in the class. This is likely to discourage the student. Okay, वो discouraging वाली वो चीजें आ जाती हैं, right? तो guys, ये सारी चीजें you should know, right? In the last, I just want to tell you, whenever you teach, आपका verbal और non-verbal बिहेवियर दोनों ही काउंट होते हैं वेन एवर यू आर टीचिंग टू द स्टूडेंट्स. ओके. एंड आप समझ रहे होंगे कि वर्बली आप बहुत बोलते हो तो मैक्सिमम परसेंटेज वर्बली की होती है. नहीं, इन 35 या 40 मिनट्स की क्लास के अंदर वर्बली यू यूज ओनली 7 और 8%. 92% आपका नॉन वर्बल बिहेवियर, राइट, यू शो टू द स्टूडेंट्स. Non-verbal means gestures, smiling, right? ये सारा का सारा that comes under the non-verbal, right? So guys, importance of a reinforcement: motivates students to participate actively. It promotes self-confidence and positive attitude towards learning. It strengthens correct responses and desirable behavior. It creates a friendly and supportive classroom atmosphere. It helps in habit formation. ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है. Reinforcement अगर स्किल आपको पता है, आप उनकी हैबिट चेंज भी कर सकते हो, याद रखना. राइट. हैबिट फॉर्मेशन एंड लॉन्ग टर्म लर्निंग. अगर आपने बच्चों को लॉन्ग टर्म लर्न उनको रहे, उनकी हैबिट आपने चेंज करनी है, तो इफ यू नो द स्किल ऑफ रीइंफोर्समेंट, तो अब आपको पता लग गया ना कि वो जो कंटेंट मैटर है. अब हम सम अप करते हैं लेक्चर को. ये लास्ट था. ठीक है. स्किल. राइट. ये आपके सिलेबस के अंदर है. इसके अलावा भी मैंने 2-3 और ऊपर करवा दिए हैं. ठीक है. सिलेबस में तो 4-5 थे. अब गाइस कंटेंट नॉलेज इज ए डिफरेंट थिंग, लेकिन पढ़ाना, पेडागोजी इज ए डिफरेंट थिंग. राइट. पेडागोजी इन्वॉल्व्स दी यू शुड हैव दी नॉलेज ऑफ दीज ऑल टीचिंग स्किल्स. ठीक है ना. अब ऐसा नहीं कि कंटेंट नॉलेज है तो कोई भी पढ़ा सकता है, ऐसा नहीं है. पढ़ाना इज टोटली डिफरेंट टू टीचिंग. इज दैट्स व्हाई ना इट इज कॉल्ड टीचिंग इज नॉट एवरीबॉडीज कप ऑफ टी. Right. Teaching involves you should have the strong pedagogical knowledge. Right. So second last था ये, the importance of reinforcement. Reinforcement skill helps in habit formation and long term learning. It reduces fear of mistakes and encourages risk taking in learning. देख लो टीचर क्या कुछ करवा सकता है. Right. The skill of a reinforcement is a critical teaching skills that strengthens learning, motivates students, and creates positive classroom environment by using verbal praise, non-verbal gestures, written comments, and tangible rewards. Effectively, teacher can encourage participation, confidence, and continuous learning. So thank you so much, guys. So today we are done with teaching skills and components of those skills. Right. Concept and meaning of teaching skills we are done. Skill of introducing a lesson we are done. Components uske bhi we are done. Stimulus variation and components, using blackboard, explaining, illustration, probing questions, and skill of reinforcement. So this is a very important topic and it always come in the exam. So guys, thank you so much.